3 miles outside Baltimore heading north, a slave on the run. The risk of capture is high. At most, 1,000 a year are successful. Ears cut off, Achilles tendons slashed, branding, all are common punishments if caught. Frederick Douglass has failed twice, but won't let that stop him. Men like Douglass are the South's worst nightmare. He has a better chance than most of passing as a free man. Unlike 80% of slaves, he can read and write.
Even in the 21st century, we're only 3 or 4 generations away from people that not only could not get paid for their labor, it was against the law for them to read and write, it was against the law for them to marry, it was against the law for them to name their children after themselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Way to go. Drink it.
Black Americans must carry documents proving they're free or who they belong to. Frederick Douglass has papers borrowed from a friend.
Drink it.
They won't hold up to careful examination.
My whole future depended on the decision of this conductor. This moment of time was one of the most anxious I ever experienced. Had he looked closely at the paper, he could not have failed to discover that it called for a very different looking person from myself.
Frederick Douglass makes it to New York City and freedom, and becomes a leading figure in the anti-slavery movement. He'll write a best-selling autobiography. He'll meet and debate with Lincoln in the White House. At a time when slaves are barely regarded as people, he will become an icon, a celebrity, the best-known African-American in America. The best hope for escaped slaves is the legendary Underground Railroad and the tireless efforts of Harriet Tubman. An escaped slave herself, she risks her life returning south again and again to guide others to freedom. A masterful escape artist, Tubman will do anything to avoid capture, even keeping babies quiet with opium.
Harriet Tubman is the Moses of our people. She was a wanted woman. She was a hated woman, reviled by the white South. Just imagine you have gotten out of slavery, you've escaped, and yet you come back. You have the courage and the care about other people to come back into a hell.
The South puts a $40,000 reward on her head, but nothing stops her.
Come on, y'all. Come on. Move. I'm going to die.
Tubman is one of America's first civil rights activists. In the same month she dies, Rosa Parks is born. Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman threaten everything the South stands for.
Tens of thousands of slave owners had to deal with, for the first time, the fact that these people are going to rebel. She was far more effective as the symbol that they feared than the few hundred that she saved.
Nearly 60,000 slaves will escape, up to a $50 million loss to their owners. but it symbolizes much more. Now the South has a fight on its hands, and they're prepared to do whatever it takes to preserve their way of life. The fight for the soul of a nation is just getting started.